this and it works instantly, and sometimes it doesn't. And we're here. It's Friday. That's 8 o'clock on a Friday. I have to say, hello everyone. Welcome to Real Lives with Lisa, and may I add that it is very real tonight. I have half a headache. I've had a tough week, and I am feeling less bouncy than normal. However, I have a very special guest tonight, and his name is Mr. Wright. And I'm sure there's a few girls out there who've made a joke of that one. And Jeff Wright is a very special guest because he is the hidden tech guru behind everything I do. So I met Jeff, my God, it's almost a year and a half ago now. And he is a genius when it comes to all things tech. So I quickly realised this could be a very useful person to have around. So poor Jeff has got more and more deeply involved with helping me with my funnels and my website and my broadcasting. And it's not too bad at fencing either. So anyway, without further ado, I'd like to welcome you, Jeff. Welcome to Real Lives with Lisa.
Good evening.
Thank you for being here. Oh, just make sure. No, that's the thing. The notifications pinging. So what we want to do tonight, guys, is we want to talk, Jeff, because you really have facilitated me getting through a really tech intensive year, and I wanted to talk to you a little bit about what your advice is for people who want to become online entrepreneurs but who aren't techie. So what do you think people should do in that situation?
First and foremost, find a tech friend, somebody you can trust, somebody that you can turn to, will give you honest advice, will tell you what to do, what not to do. Won't necessarily do it all for you, but will certainly tell you where not to go, and hopefully tell you the right way to go.
So a lot of people in this situation turn to someone to do it for them. And I wanted to see what your thoughts are about when somebody hands the reins, as it were, for their tech to somebody else. I mean, what are the pros and cons of that?
Critical thing is always definition. Make sure you know what you're asking someone to do. You can go and say, oh, I want a website, I want a funnel. And the person goes away and they build you something. And it's their idea of what they think you want. And they present it and you go, actually, that's not what I wanted. And you're further down the line, you miss the opportunity, and you've got to start again. So it's really about specifications. So get in there, discussing what you want, and then dividing up and saying, okay, there's bits that you can do and you want to keep control of. So it might be something very personal. It might be a case of you want to have a graphic image. You want to have colours your way. You want to pick out the colour spots and say, right, I want that green, I want that blue. I want it to look like this on a phone and this on a screen. And then you sort of give the rest to somebody and say, make it happen. And
So,
the smaller that piece can be, the easier it becomes. Because it can be a case of simply saying, I want that blue, make it happen. They make the blue, go, right, let's move to the next bit.
So I think what you're saying is the entrepreneur or whoever it is that's building their online brand or their website or their funnel, they need to be very, very clear. In fact, there's no way they could be too clear, right? The more specific they are, the more they they've worked out everything before, the more likely they are to get what they want. But what about the aspects of if they don't know what they want? So what's your advice to somebody who is uncertain? They know they maybe need a website, or actually maybe they're not sure if they need a website or a funnel, or should they work with should they use a digital agency? Should they do Facebook ads? What would your advice be for someone who doesn't really know where to turn? So clearly they need to be clear what they want, but then supposing they are clear, who do they go to? what do you think is a sensible way to work out how to get help?
It entirely depends on what you want help with. So if it's a commodity item, like a website, there's many people you can turn to. A more specialist item, like a funnel, you want to sort of see samples of the work and decide if that's the kind of person you can work with. But the more samples you can see of someone's work, the more you'll see if they gel with you or not. Of course, personal recommendation that if you're in the right groups, you can throw the question out there. People can say, oh yes, I've used this person, I'll use them again. Or I've used this person and yeah, maybe I wouldn't. So personal recommendation, looking at portfolios, just like anything else in life, it's about seeing what's there and seeing how it fits with your vision.
So obviously, just like you would hire a plumber or a florist or a gardener, you want to go on referrals. What about, but when you're outsourcing, I think a lot of people watching who are starting out in this area, they don't even know where to look for referrals. I mean, if you're not in an online digital space to begin with, you don't know. I mean, you can't exactly go to your mates because none of your mates are going to necessarily know a digital marketer. I mean, you might have someone or someone, I've had this happen to me, and you go like, who? And they go, oh yes, I've got a lovely lady to do a website. She's £3,500, and I gulped. And when I found out that this lady had been charged £3,500 for her 3-4 page website, I gulped again. So, yes, don't just ask your friends for referrals because your friends might actually be more naive than you. So, I think what you want to do, I feel, is go to people like yourself and ask their advice. Who are they hiring? So go online to Facebook group or search Instagrammers who are doing what you do, and just ask them, who did you use? Because they actually are already ahead of you. They're a couple of steps ahead. They've hired the website developer or the funnel developer, and their recommendation may not be on your budget, but it'll probably be a good recommendation. And then even if you go to that person and say, well, I can't afford you, but if I can't afford you, who could I use? Often good people know good people. And that's a really important part in this. And I made the mistake of trying to save money. So another warning I've always found is it is when you're developing your business, obviously you have a budget and you can't go too crazy. But do not save money on the things that you don't understand until you have done some research. So I thought, I'm going to save money on my website and I'm going to hire out in India, because that's the clever thing to do, is to source out in another country. Well, so these guys, I didn't know what I was doing. I couldn't tell a good program from a bad. So I've totally been where I'm saying to you guys, like, I didn't know what was good or bad. This is always the problem. You can't hire people unless you can evaluate their work. And they appeared to be doing a good job to me. I was quite pleased. It's like, looked good. But then I hired a copywriter from a friend of a friend who was very, very good, and he knew what he was doing. And he warned me that the website had been built appallingly. It was almost impossible to work with. And I actually sort of got grumpy with him and said, you know what you're talking about. I hired these amazing guys. But in fact, later on, I realized that he was the wise one. He'd been telling me the truth, because these Indian engineers never finished the website, and then they tried to hijack the website. And in fact, it was Jeff who managed to duplicate it and recreate it so that they couldn't hold it ransom for me. So you've got to be really careful, and I wouldn't recommend having anything too crucial done overseas, because you can't chase them up. If they run off your money, they hijack your site, you haven't got any legal jurisdiction over them. So be very careful if going abroad. Having said that, some of the prices in things like, if you guys don't know, things like Upwork or Fiverr. Fiverr is Fiverr.com. It can be very cheap. We've got labour who are very smart, educated programmers, web developers, graphic designers, musicians all over the world. And they actually are very, very affordable because they're in another part of the world where the cost of living is less. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're not good. So you can, if it's very affordable and the person's got loads and loads of recommendations, then it is a good idea to possibly look at going overseas, but do it with a caveat emptor, buyer beware, and be careful. So, Jeff, let's talk a little bit about websites. Now, what do you think? I mean, you don't do this professionally for a living, but what do you think would be an average price of a sort of a basic website that didn't have any functionality other than just information and branding? Do you have any clue what that should be around?
Well, the basic is you sign up with a provider, with a website builder, and you can get a couple of pages online fairly quickly, and it's included in your package. So that's a very quick way of getting along and testing the market. And
So
then
what?
a better idea, you can then move on from that.
Right. So going to, who would you recommend in your experience? I mean, like if you're going to go and buy a website tomorrow and get a website builder, there's quite a few companies competing for your business. So would you use Wix, for example, or would you go GoDaddy or Ionas? Just some names. What in your experience? And I mean, like your hands on. This is real lives. Let's get real here. What is your experience over the last year? With domain providers and the ease of use. What feedback do you have for us?
Well, personally, I use Ionas, and I've used those since they were called one-on-one because I found they're reliable. But then everyone has a different need. So my need is basic, cost-effective, and no frills. Someone else may want very good customer service because they want to be able to phone up someone and say, "It doesn't work. Help me through it." And so then you look at the provider that has that. You can look at the providers that serve a no-frills service with a built-in basic website. It may work initially, but then you've got to think, if you move to a real website off their builder, it will cause a problem. So it really depends what you want, and it's horses for courses. So it could be a case of you go to like Wix, you can throw up a page fairly quickly. But then I've got no idea if you want to do a real website that wasn't just a Wix page, how difficult that would be to move. With something like GoDaddy, they are notorious. I mean, it's a case of expand your friends. So look in the groups, read up on the problems. At the moment, there's a lot of talk about GoDaddy charging extra for anything they can, and making sure you can't get a cheaper version. So SSL, very important, that green padlock in the corner of your screen when you go to the website that says it's safe, very important for the entrepreneur. And having a big banner which says this site's dodgy, you don't want to go in here and spend your money, is a very bad thing for the entrepreneur. So SSL, very, very important. The most expensive SSL in the world is GoDaddy. You can get SSL for free, but you can't use that on GoDaddy. You have to pay £60 per year for GoDaddy certificate if you want their SSL. So it's that hidden charge.
And some of our viewers might not know what SSL is. So what is SSL? Explain why we need that.
Secure sockets layer. It's the method of ensuring that nobody can snoop on your conversation. So if you're putting a credit card in, you want to make sure that only your trusted partner at the other end of the line gets to see the information. So you're going to shop on Amazon. You want the confidence that sort of you're paying Amazon, and you're not paying sort of every hacker between you and Amazon headquarters. And SSL gives you that, which is why it's now pretty much compulsory. And every web browser, if you haven't got SSL, it will throw up a warning. And this is the thing you've got to be aware of, that if you try to go online and sell things, if you're not going to sell things, it's okay having an insecure site. But if you're going to try and sell something, it's got to be secure. Otherwise, immediately there'll be a warning saying this could be a phishing site, this could be a scam site, and that's reputation lost before you even gained.
Yes, and we had an experience, didn't we, where actually we had a horrendous experience where there was a piece of code in a ClickFunnels template that we had originated our funnel from that was not SSL compliant, right? So it wouldn't allow the security lock to work. So when people clicked on our funnel from certain browsers, they got the "we're trying to steal your money, be warning, warning, warning," like malicious possible content. And I mean, we did incredibly well to get through that. Can you imagine? I'd put all this work into this funnel and this event, and the tickets were being sold via the funnel. And then people were wanting to join, but they couldn't join because they wouldn't open the link. And so this SSL thing is really important, because it's the one thing that can trip you up. And when you're selling online, whether you're selling coaching or product or an event or webinar or whatever it is, people need to be able to trust you. And we all talk about the know, like, trust factor that we have when we're building relationships online, and the know, like, trust. And if they come, they get their credit card out, and then the website's going warning, 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 that is not going to be a good thing. That is not what you want. So in that regard, you've got to pay great attention to that. So we've learned the hard way. I mean, this tech journey that I have been on, and Jeff has helped me so much, is a nightmare. And I'm probably way more tech savvy now than I was, but I still feel way not tech savvy enough. I spent my life going, I still don't quite understand how that's working, or why is that not working. We had an issue with a funnel, and incidentally, what is a funnel? So let me explain. Some of you may know, what the hell is she talking about? Websites or funnels? A funnel, for those who aren't sure, a funnel is basically a set, for the easiest way to put it, is a set of websites that are sequenced together. So if you think of, or a set of pages, if you think of website as a page, and you have, if a website has 10 pages or 10 links, it has 10 pages. So a funnel might also have 10 pages. The difference is the way you travel through the pages. When you go to a website, you can click on the top buttons, the bottom buttons, you can click all over the place, and it can take you on, off, into, out of, all sorts of things. You have lots of choices. In a funnel, it's exactly the same. You have a button that you can click, and there might actually be 2 buttons, and there will be one thing that will happen when you click that button, and you'll basically not be able to get out of that page unless you click button A or button B. It's usually just button A. And then that will give you another page, and then you won't be able to go to that page unless you kind of go yes or no. If you say no, it'll take you to a different page. You say yes, it'll take you to a different page. It's a bit like, it's a bit like going through a maze. What would you say, Jeff?
It's like a one-way system in the supermarket. You've got to walk around in exactly one way and pass the products, and eventually get the till, and you've picked up all the stuff they want to pick up.
Yeah.
Rather than sort of just walking to the store, and you go a little bit over there, a little bit over there, and maybe you walk out with nothing.
Yeah. And if someone comes into a funnel, so they click on your link, they see you on Facebook or Instagram or on your they could be a funnel even on your website. So you can have a one pager that says, come here to get this offer, and you click on the link, and that puts you in a funnel. So it takes you to another web page, which takes you to another web page, takes you to another web page, through this one-way system. And if you try to leave, there'll even be a page, often it's called a pop-up, going, don't go without trying this or trying that. So it's almost like it talks to you. It's almost like artificial, actually it kind of is like artificial intelligence. So we create a sequence of web pages that you walk through that have the maximum potential of actually getting you to buy. Or if not buy, at least get to know you a little bit better and get your email. Because then once we've got someone's email, we can talk to them later, and we can show them how super cool we are and build the all-important know, like, trust factor in an ongoing way. Because when you send people to your website or your funnel, we're going to make them the same thing effectively. When they go to your landing page or your website or your funnel, they're going to go there and they're going to think, well, this is interesting. What's this about? And you're going to have a few seconds to tell them and get them to want to find out more and click to the next page, and so on and so on and so on. So your marketing online is all about getting them to feel comfortable enough to click on. Like, this looks good. Oh, I want that. Give me that. Oh, I'll take that for free. Oh, sure, I'll sign up. I'd like more of this. And who are you again? Oh, tell me more. That's what we're trying to do. And even if they don't buy from us, if we've got their email, we can tell them more on an ongoing basis. I think I heard somewhere, I think sometimes the average communication, sort of like what you call touches, you might need to touch a client 12 times, I mean, on average, just to get them to purchase from you. So it's not like we think, oh, I put up an ad, someone comes to my website and they buy. I mean, sometimes that happens, but often it doesn't happen that way. And that's why we have these funnels to help people get to know us in a controlled way. So, Jeff, what would you say about funnel building to people? What would you like to say about that? Is it good, hard, easy? What do you have to say on that?
It's all about sort of planning, because the thing with the funnel is it's click or close. That's the choice that the user has. They're either going to be engaged by your story and they're going to want to click through the next page, or they're going to be, or it's just going to be a case they're turned off and it's like, yeah, close it and walk away. So it's really about sort of having something engaging, something that's sort of visually attractive, that they can look at it and go, actually, I'll stick around. I'll actually read this. Mm. Because that's the first thing. Something pops up, you click on something that pops up and it just looks drab and boring. It's like, okay, and open. It's got to be something that talks to the user, something that engages them.
Yeah.
And the hardest part is actually that planning, that deciding what you're going to put down there. As an engineer, for me, planning is everything. Because either if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. So it's really a case of think about how you'd approach it and work out the walkthrough. A nice simple clean front page where big bold graphics and you get to click on. As I've already clicked on the list sometimes, they're going to spend a bit more time on the next page and so on. If you sort of confront them first up with, right, you can buy something for 10 grand, click here. It's like, whoa, I'm out of it. If it's sort of, look at the cute cats, look at cute dogs, click on the button, see more of these, people will do that. Yeah. It's not quite clickbaity, but it's the idea to draw them in. You want to give them the product, show them something nice, say, this is what you want, in you come. So it really comes down to that planning of thinking about what your target audience is, how they're going to look at it.
Yeah. What do they want? What are you offering? Who are they, and what will they be attracted to? And everything in online marketing boils down to what is the problem you solve and for whom do you solve it? So those are the two keys. And then basically it's build an audience of people for whom you can solve their problems, and over time solve their problems, and you will have a business. So moving on from funnels. So one of the key constituents of a modern online business is funnels, and you're very good. But before we move on completely, I find a lot of people actually are quite good at building the marketing bit, and they do the branding and the colors, and they decide what the customer journey is and what they'd like their customers to do. But then they get to the really techie bit, like the seriously back-end techie bit, where they have to connect it to a provider, to connect it to the email, to connect it to the SMT. And what does that stand for again? SMTP?
Simple Mail Transfer Protocol.
Okay.
It's basically the post office.
Yeah, the post office, the online post office. So it is just like follow the instructions. It isn't difficult. But if you're like me, you maybe don't follow the instructions really well because they're like techie instructions, and you end up in problems. And that's where someone like Jeff is there to rescue you. And that's where I think most of us do need someone as a helping hand. Just someone who says, well, you haven't connected to the post office correctly. The address isn't quite right. And that's actually something Jeff and I are thinking of doing maybe later on this year, is actually helping people with what we call the back-end techie stuff. So not necessarily building funnels for you, but actually helping people with they do most of it. And then when they're a little bit stuck at the end, we can help them and maybe just do a done with them package for that. So just if that's something of interest, do let me know, because we've thought about doing that, because I have so many friends who get halfway through their marketing funnel and then they get stuck. And yes, there's loads of people like at ClickFunnels and other funnel providers tech support and help, but sometimes tech support is busy, doesn't get back to you. Last night I had an issue with something actually Jeff and I couldn't solve, and they still haven't given me an answer. I'm in the waiting queue. Now, if I needed to get that out, now Jeff and I can't solve everything, but sometimes having somebody who's going to be quicker and faster than support is essential if you have a launch going on and suddenly something doesn't work. And actually that brings me to a point that's really key. If you are looking at time sensitive materials with anything to do with tech, please do it in plenty of time, because it does seem to me, after the last 2 years of experience, that things do tend to, at the very last minute, something goes wrong and you think you've got everything aligned and you haven't. So just take it from me, give yourself 48 hours. Don't be thinking it's going to work tonight or else. So I have learned to do my mail outs before I really need them to go and things like that. So now I really am moving on from funnels. Let's talk a little bit about possible ways to reach people on, like, say, within Facebook. So if you've got a Facebook group, what are some of the tools that we can use that involve tech to reach those people? What have you got any suggestions about?
Depends on the group. The first thing is any group where you have to join it, have those questions of, if you like more, if you join this group, you like more information instead of offers, give me your email. And that's an instance of start to capture and engage with them. Build an email list, because one of the things like Facebook is it's a great platform, but it's not your platform. And the thing to remember in the online business is, if you're not paying for it, then you're paying for it in some other way. So Facebook is utilizing you to pay for its services. So the more you do online, the more people you get onto Facebook and interact with Facebook means that they can market more. So the more successful you are, the more successful they are. But at any time, they can pull a plug on you. And this has happened with a lot of people where, for no fault of their own, suddenly they find their business is just imploded.
Yeah.
Or they might have violated a minor rule and so didn't quite get the ad right to meet their requirements. And so that really important ad that's going out for launch didn't go out. And then you hear stories of people who did it all right. They went out, they did a test ad first, it got through the filter, and then they turn the volume up so it goes out big time, and it doesn't go out because somehow it dropped. So you've got no control of it. Whereas emails, once you've got the email list and you clean the list to make sure that they are genuine contacts, the more you can talk to those people, the more in control you are. And there's the thing of, if someone gives you an email and they then change their mind, always you'll have an unsubscribe option. It's any of the email packages have that built in and you can't get rid of it. Very, very important, you must have it. This can be last, but also because if someone's not actually interested and is prepared to click the button saying, go away, I don't hear from you then, you're never going to solve them anyway, so you don't want them on the list. You'd rather have them on the list of people that might be interested, but they're not really worth chasing up. And you have to build a list of genuine contacts who are genuinely interested in what you've got to say, so you can get those touches, and then eventually they can become customers that you buy stuff.
Yeah, and that's such an important point, is that you can't sell to everybody. You have to sell to your ideal client, the clients whose problems you can solve, and you can't solve everyone's problems. So who are the people who you know you have a solution for? What is it you can do for those people? For example, I have an equestrian mastermind, and if I tried to say that I wanted every horse person in the world to be on my mastermind, well, that would be ridiculous. So I decided at first to think it was only going to be dressage. But in fact, I am niched down, and it isn't limited to dressage, but it's limited to ethical, classically oriented training. And that could be in any sport, but it is people who want to know how to work with horses in a non-forceful, partnership-oriented way. And that is not how everybody wants to train their horses. So that means I have a small niche of highly interested people who want to be educated, but they want to be educated in a non-violent, ethical, classically oriented way, and work with their horses in a certain way. And that niching down is something that we have to do with all our communications in every aspect of online. One of the problems I think a lot of people have is that we create groups of our target audience, and we have a group of thousands, maybe tens of thousands of people. But then we have to work out how to keep in touch with them, and it's not as easy, which is why we need to have got their email if at all possible. But there's also something else, which we're not going to go into much now, but please do and check it out. And go and check out something called ManyChat. A ManyChat is an app that works within Facebook that is like, it's like a bot. It's an auto bot. So it will connect with the people in your groups. It will enable you to filter them. It will enable you to email certain people when they do certain things. And that's like a lecture or two in itself. But if you haven't heard of ManyChat, I strongly suggest you go and check it out. It is something that you then connect to Facebook, and it might help you in your group marketing. And I have used it. I'm not a big user of it, but I'm about to get into using a lot more, so I will tell you more about it when we play with it a bit further. But that should actually help when you've got a big group and you're not connecting with everyone enough, because groups are like a living organism. You have to keep them alive, you have to feed them, you have to touch them, you have to stroke them, you have to muck them out. It's a bit like a horse, really. And if you don't do all of those things, the group just sort of dies. It's like the people in the group forget they're in the group. And I do that all the time, because in my journey as an entrepreneur, I've done a lot of modeling on people, and I've joined a lot of groups. I've wanted to see what they're doing, and the problem is that means I've probably got about 400 groups that I've joined at some point, and it's fascinating because they're in the order of like how often I visit them. So the top sort of 50 I see fairly frequently. Well, probably the top 10, but occasionally I dip in and out of the top 50. And then the other 200 or whatever it is that is in there, I really don't know. I hardly ever see them. And if I look, I'm like, oh, wow, yes, there was that group. Oh, I wonder what happened to that coach, or I wonder what happened to that person. Now, they're still alive and kicking, and they're still running their group, but I haven't heard from them in a year because there was no email. They couldn't connect with me with email. They didn't get my email. And they didn't do anything to tag me in the group, because that's quite tricky, and they didn't do anything to try and, so if I visited the group, that should have maybe started some kind of automation. Oh, she came back and made a comment, quickly do something, she's commented, because she's commented, we need to follow up with our bot. And there are some ways of doing that. Or you hire a VA to check every time anyone comments, they pounce all over the person and get like, you're alive, welcome back. Because this is how you keep a group alive, is by paying a lot of attention and interacting with people. But it's hard when you've got 10,000. So that's when you sometimes need to automate it. So, there's a lot of tech. But one of the things I think is so important to remember is that the tech is there to help you. And you need to know enough to be able to tell someone what you want the tech to do. Like Jeff said, you need to know enough about what your website needs to do to tell Jeff or somebody what you want designed. You need to know what your sales process is to get someone to do a funnel. You need to know what you want the people in your group to do to use ManyChat. But at the end of the day, you don't need to do it all. There are people you can hire, but you cannot hire them until you know enough to be able to judge if they can do the job and to be able to tell them how to do it right. And it's like, there is no shortcut to that. You cannot be an armchair entrepreneur and sit there and go like, well, I have this idea, I'm going to hire everyone. Well, if you could afford to maybe risk your money, maybe you could, because you could just spend lots of money and hire the best in the business, but you'd be paying 10x more than you need to probably. So who wants to do that? That entrepreneur is there to make money and make profits. You don't want to like throw your money away. So it's important that you need to educate yourself on what it takes to do the tech around your business. Right, Jeff, now is there any other kind of tech that we need to touch on right now? So we've covered, yeah, go on.
One is just sort of phone or desktop with the email, the messenger. So think about what's the most effective. So by far the most effective is actually good old-fashioned text messaging. That's a very effective method, and people respond to text messaging because that's something, strange enough, unique. Whereas email is just buried in the flow of other stuff. Messenger or WhatsApp or any of the instant messaging services, again, they tend to get buried in other things, but on a mobile phone, SMS has that quite a place. It's on the front screen. You've got your phone calls, you've got your SMSs, and they've got everything else. So it's things about how you want to approach the audience. Things like SMS will cost more, and you've got to capture a phone number to actually do it. But if that fits with the entire audience and it fits with what we're saying, it's what we're doing. Next one back from that is instant messaging. So ManyChat or any other bots. The thing about any of these communications, there are rules. And with SMS, you're basically talking about national rules. With instant messenger, you've now got not only national rules, but you've got whoever owns that platform, it's got their own rules. So it has more risk to it. And then beneath that, you've got email, because how many actually sort of put spam filters on? You don't check your emails, you're looking for the important ones you don't recognise you, just ignore. And maybe after a while, a few times, like, oh, what's this email doing? And then you look at it. But a lot of people just ignore the emails. And then similarly, in any design, you've got to think about what's your target audience. Do you want somebody who is basically on the phone? So you want to design everything from the phone first, so that that's their interaction. Or would you want to have a big screen first, because that's what you're selling. You're selling something that is the big screen. Once they've got the phones, actually they're not that important to you. It's to work out what's there, how to use it.
Yeah.
How to get your message across.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I'm just trying to think, is there anything else that we need to cover, or are we pretty much done? I think the key thing with all tech, and I'm sure you all know this, is you need to get your fingers dirty, you need to get your hands dirty, you need to get in there. And if you're using ClickFunnels, if you're using Kajabi, is a platform where you can do courses, or using Thinkific, which is a similar platform for doing courses. If you're using what else is there? Lead Pages or Kartra or Samcart, or it doesn't really matter, that all these products that you Infusionsoft, Active Campaign, MailChimp, all these different products, you need to use them, and it helps to kind of spend a few days and just send out dummy emails, send out dummy tests, create dummy funnels, get your hands dirty. What happens when I press this? What happens when I don't be afraid of it. Do stuff, make up ghost campaigns that you are not actually going to use, but just play with the technology. It's like when you get a new phone, you just like, whoa, I pray that. Oh, look what happens when I press that. I think so many of us are afraid if we're not. See, Jeff's a geek, so for him it's like, oh, it's easy. Oh, just do this. I think about it. I do that. For me, I'm like, oh my God, what's he going to do when I press this button? I'm like, oh, totally weird. So
there's also the thing of take advantage of free offers. So most of them have a free trial period. It may be sort of a week, it may be 2 weeks. Try it, see what happens.
Yeah.
And also sit both sides of the desk. Be your own client. So we've had problems in the past, it's got better now, but some of the email providers are very, very aggressive in the spam process. And there are a limited number of services people send that campaign emails. So if somebody abuses that system, then everybody's emails get turned off. So businesses are always trying to keep on so ahead and keep the scammers in. But that's on both sides of the table. So we have a problem with anything to do with Microsoft, Hotmail, Outlook, all that lot. We couldn't send an email to them. So we have people purchasing tickets, and the ordinary system immediately sent out the ticket so they could join the event, and it never got there. So we then had to sort of resort to alternative means. We had to actually manually go into a Gmail account, manually email each one because that was important. Since then, we've seen that the service provider has upped their game. It's now no longer just a simple register for the password in and done. No, you've got to register, you've got to register your phone, you've got to put an app on your phone to 2FA. You've got to prove who you are. That means that the casual scammers, if anyone abuses that system, got to address the problem.
Talking about 2FA, of course, I don't know if anyone listening doesn't have 2FA on their Facebook, but if you haven't, put it on now. So some of you may know that I got hacked. I got hacked by something called the ISIS flag attack in August. I was at Pony Club Camp. Every year I do a week in Pony Club Camp. It's actually really fun, and I help the kids. I teach a group. And I came home at the end of the Thursday, in the day before the last day of camp, and I went to go to my phone to post some pictures. And there was a warning asking to send my passport details to Facebook. At first I thought it was a scam, and I thought it was just all wrong, but it wasn't. And actually the passport application process is what saved me. So what happens is, if you're hacked and they realise and they think you've been hacked, or something bad is happening, they didn't know you've been hacked, but something irregular happens, they ask you to verify yourself. And at first I was a bit reluctant to send my passport to Facebook, but I didn't really but Facebook was shut down, my Facebook was gone, I had no access, so I did what it asked, and then I waited, and I waited, and I waited, and then I started doing some research and found that when people have this happen to them, sometimes they never get Facebook back. And I have never been so scared in my entire life. I'm actually one of the very, very, very lucky ones. And about a month later, one day it said, yes, we verified your account, you may now log in again. I can tell you, I have never been so happy. I've been on Facebook since almost the beginning, and I've got thousands and thousands of photos and posts and connections, and so many people that I don't even know except on Facebook, and without Facebook I won't know how to reach them, because who has a diary anymore, right? It's all just on Facebook, and I want to find a friend, I just ping them on Facebook on Messenger. So it's a massive, massive thing, and it gets worse. So not only did I lose my Facebook for a month, when it came back, the hacker had done all sorts of terrible things which have got me banned all over the place, and it took me quite some time to get myself unbanned. I couldn't go live, for example, and this is the worst part, they disconnected all my pages except for the pages, which were a handful, that I had other admins and groups who had other admins. So this is a top tech tip if you're on Facebook. And this applies to Instagrammers too, who have Facebook linked, because my Instagram went down when my Facebook went down. So that's something to know, because they're connected. And I rather suspect in the future, now that they're connected to WhatsApp, you might lose WhatsApp as well. I mean, that's a very interesting thought. So it's now, because they're all one company, if something happens to you in one, it might happen to you in all three. So I lost instant access to my Instagram, or my Instagram, again, 10 years of photos gone. I lost my pages. My pages were what they call orphaned. So as I was banned from Facebook for a month, they were cut free from me, and there's no way back. And even worse, I lost my ad accounts. I had 2 ad accounts. One that had been closed for my running an illegal ad, and that can get you shut down. You accidentally run an ad by mistake that you don't realize, and they're like, no, you can't run an ad like that, we're closing your account, and there's no appeal. But you get 3 accounts, right? But I had 2 others, because by mistake, I didn't mean to have 2 accounts, but I had 2 accounts, which is fine, you're allowed 3. Both of those were banned by the hacker, because the hacker had used it in bad things. And even though Facebook very kindly acknowledged that I was hacked, and they gave me my account back, and eventually gave me my good standing back so that I could go live, I have yet to get my Facebook pages back, or my ad account back. So at the moment I have to rely on other people to advertise for me, which is possible but really, really annoying. So that is a lesson. a massive lesson. If you use Facebook to try and stop getting hacked in the first place, use a highest level security you can, 2FA, okay, two-factor authentication. Use Authy or Google Authenticator or something similar. Also, if you have any groups or pages that you never want to lose access to, put other people, quite a few ideally, as admins. An admin cannot be discovered, cannot actually remove the original admin, so you don't need to worry about them kicking you out, because I was worried about that originally. So you bring in other admins, they cannot remove you, you can remove them, but they cannot remove you. And in the event you do get hacked and the worst thing happens, if you did have to start another account, they can then bring you back into that group or back and connect you with that page, so you don't lose your business access. And that is a reason for having pages, because there are some coaches out there who talk about not having like, oh, you don't need pages and blah, blah, blah. But actually pages are slightly separate, therefore you do need them, because they are your possible way back in if the worst ever was to happen to you. So always have, I would say, at least 2 other admins, just in case, I don't know, the coincidence of like the 2 of you got hacked at the same time or something. So I'd say at least 2 plus yourself, and the more the merrier, because that is going to be a safety net should the worst happen, that your business is not taken offline. And in the event that the worst does happen, do your very best to do everything that Facebook asks of you, and there's a good chance that it just will take you, like me, 3 to 5 weeks, that you will get most, if not all of it back. So don't give up, and reach out and keep asking until someone answers. Now, there wasn't at that point any live chat on Facebook, but some of you may not realize there actually is a business live chat now, and it's the business live chat that I've talked to try and get my ad account back. I haven't got it back, and the guy promised me a 48-hour return, but he didn't. But you know, it's COVID, things are crazy, Facebook's a really big place. I haven't bothered to spend another 3 hours on the live chat with another person yet, but I will pick that up next month and try it yet again. So there is, in Facebook Business, you go into the Facebook Business Manager area, that somewhere in there I've discovered there actually is a live chat where you can talk to a real person who works for Facebook, which is fantastic, because back when I actually got hacked, there wasn't any way to do that then, I don't think. So at least I couldn't find one then. I found it since. So, right, we're wrapping up here now, Jeff.
I'm happy. There's another tip is never link your bank account to Facebook, because if hackers get in, they can spend everything you've got on ads. Always use a credit card and have a low limit card. Only got a small amount of things on it, so that, because this is the whole hack. It's basically breaking. They find people with ad accounts, and then they advertise. They basically sort of sublet your advertising. So you're paying full price for it, and they're still on for half the money. So they're using to laund the money. It's your money being used. So if you make sure that you don't have a money stream going in, they'll quickly abandon your account, toss it back to Facebook, and then you'll get it back. They will basically lock you out of it as long as they can use it. As soon as you turn the money tap off, as soon as you do it.
Yeah.
Money tap is only dribble.
That's why the hackers do it.
And if you look online, you'll find lots of stories where guys basically got their accounts back, and you find that it was actually Vietnamese hackers, and their Fraser's account was sort of basically the dollar value of his account was the name of it. Plus some Vietnamese explaining about it. So that's what we're after. And they found that because of Facebook rules, to completely hide their tracks, all they do is they show you ISIS flag, and Facebook will shut you down as a terrorist with no appeal, and there's no way to see what they've done. Meanwhile, it's good information.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. And I mean, I think you can put PayPal on your Facebook account as well, so that would be another person in between. So PayPal could then do something. You could phone PayPal in the emergency. You just want to you want layers between anyone who's bad and your money. And we hope that none of this ever happens, but it's happening more and more and more because the hackers are getting cleverer and cleverer. And not just on Facebook, but they're right now. I'm horrified at this, that there is an email scam going around where you are emailed. This is in England. I'm in London, near London, England. The NHS says, come for your vaccination for COVID. And it looks very genuine. It looks like it's 100% from the National Health Service here. And it arrives, and then it says, click here for payment. And we don't pay for our COVID jabs, okay? They're on the government. And yet, so this scam is, and it makes people pay. I don't know what it is. And of course, if you're a lady, and it's mostly the elderly that are being asked to, you're going for jabs right now. And if they get an email and they think, oh, there's my jab. I would think apparently some people were so close to pressing the button. And what a sick way to scam people over something about COVID and COVID vaccinations. It's all. So the scammers are out there. Times are going to get tough this year. We're going to come through this. We're going to come out the other side. But this year there's going to be more hacks, there's going to be more scams, there's going to be more people trying to steal your money, good ways and bad ways. They're going to be selling you left, right and centre because the salesmen are going to be coming out to get you this year because people need the economy moving, they need to make money. Sales is, you protect yourself because you're only interested in talking to people that you're interested in, right? So as people on the other side, we only want to be talking to people who really need and want what we have to offer them, and vice versa. So we just want to make sure that this year we offer value and that we are very careful what people are offering us, because it's very easy to get excited about something because we're all kind of like, where's the next dollar coming from, or how's my business going to do in 2021, given when are we ever coming out of lockdown, that sort of thing. And then you can jump the gun and go, this looks really good, I'm going to jump in there. And just think twice, because there are going to be a lot of things that maybe aren't as good for you as they appear this year. And particularly watch out if you're in the crypto world, because Bitcoin went up so high. There are going to be lots and lots of scammers going, get into Bitcoin. And Bitcoin's great, there's nothing wrong with that, but you don't want to be involved with the scammers. There are going to be a lot of dodgy, sounds too good to be true type of organizations saying, oh, invest with us and we'll do this, invest with us, we're going to make you more money. Basically, don't do that. Just because we're talking scamming, I just have to know, I got scammed once myself in a situation like that. We don't want anything to do with that. We want to only deal with genuine people we know, like, trust, that build our business or build our investments or build our future so that we can live a life we love. Don't forget, go and check out the podcast, dreamteampodcast.com, thedreamteampodcast.com. And remember, you're going to check us out because we're now on Monday is episode 7, and you'll find out all the principles of living a life you love there. And that's it, guys. We're a wrap. So I managed to do it even with half a headache. So sorry, not my jolly self, because it's always a bit tricky when you have half a headache. But funnily enough, I was in good company, because I noticed the other day, Dean Graziosi, one of my mentors, he was on saying, I look awful, I've got half a headache, but I'm not going to let you down. I've come on, so I feel like I'm in good company. I've come live, and Jeff has been here, even with me with a headache. So it's lovely to see you all. I hope that there are some useful tips in here. I hope Jeff has been helpful. If anybody listening is interested in help with their funnels or website, we will work with you. We can do that. We can do a package to help you. We're also, if with something we don't want to do, we will send you to somebody that we know guaranteed will be a good person to work with. So we can help you, either ourselves or somebody else. So it's lovely to see you all. Yes, Jeff.
So just looking at the comments here, but someone saying, oh my God, I got that email. So somebody has actually received that NHS email.
Oh, they got the NHS email. Oh my God. Yeah. Scary.
That's on the chat. So.
Yeah, that's really good. Yes. I can't see the chat, so I wasn't going to deal with that. I find it really hard to actually do the chat and then talk at the same time, so I just concentrate on the talking. So I'm a woman, I'm supposed to be able to multitask, but I'm clearly not very good at that. So yes, so watch out for that NHS email. That's not I don't think it comes that way. And if it is, double check with your local GP or something before you send anything. So all right, thank you, Jeff, for coming along tonight, and we look forward to possibly in the future having some more tech tips. So we call Jeff my Tech Angel. So his business is called Tech Angels, but it's in pre-launch at the moment. So that's something we'll be bringing on later on in the year. So thank you so much for listening. I hope we've been useful. I will be back next week on Friday. I have a life coach who's absolutely wonderful called Andy. She's a freshly qualified life coach, and she's going to tell you all about her journey and what she's going to be doing and why she's turned into a life coach. It's going to be really interesting. And I'm not sure we've got on Wednesday yet, but we will have somebody on Wednesday, I'm sure. And maybe you want to come on. All you have to come on to Real Lives with Lisa is a story or a message or something that you think will help people. It could be the story of, when your house burnt down and you managed to rebuild it. It could be the story of when you fell in love and how life is wonderful. It can be a good story or it can be a warning story. I just want to tell your stories. So I'm here to tell your stories and share your messages with the world. So look forward to seeing you all in the future. Just give me a PM or message me if you're on YouTube, or message me if you're on Instagram, or wherever you're seeing this. I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, I'm on YouTube, Real Lives with Lisa. All right, guys, have a lovely night and take care. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.